Happy New Year. Thank you.
Tell us
Yeah,
about your recent journey.
of course. I just got the chills all over while you were talking, which just gives me confirmation of like, I'm on the right path. Um, yeah, I think I initially started off with intimacy because that was kind of the journey that I was on. And 4 years ago now, I asked a question like, why do people get so sick? I'm a Western trained therapist, Western medicine trained therapist, and I worked in the hospital system. And I'm like, what's happening here? Why are people getting so sick? So sick that they have all these diagnoses that you really don't know what these diagnoses are. As a therapist, I'd walk in and like polymyelitis or some sort of complex issue that you're like, I don't know what that diagnosis is because there's so much going on. And so after having these like really intimate conversations with people, they were talking about periods of isolation and loneliness at home, periods of chronic stress, and all these issues that were the precursor of this inevitable long-term chronic illness that they were now dealing with, because that's how our body ends up having to process through stress by way of a physical manifestation of illness.
Yeah.
So I was like, we were doing this so poorly. And on top of that, I was noticing like anytime people were talking about pain, we'd give them a medication. Like, oh, you're in a little bit of pain? Let's give you a pharmaceutical pain medication. And then you're like contributing to people not processing through their own mental emotional disturbances or like challenges. But we were also giving people addictions. So then I'm like, I can't be a part of the system, but I don't want to discount Western medicine because there's a lot of really great reasons that it exists for emergencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like uh, for broken bones and for surgeries and for like acute illnesses. Like we need that. So I wasn't trying to say everything that we're doing in here is wrong, but we're doing a lot of the preventative healing work wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of like set me down this whole path. Like I need to do my own healing. So I went on my own healing journey. I incorporated plant medicine. I hired many coaches, many therapists, many mentors and advisors, and just like went on this whole rabbit hole. And so I was like, oh, wow, okay, so we find healing and peace at the individual level. So let me start there. And I kind of was just like, okay, how do I get people to talk about mental, emotional health that's not as alarming or triggering? So intimacy was my way of doing that. Like, do you want greater intimacy? Great. This is my avenue to work with the individual. But as I went on my own healing journey and like really healed the dense parts of myself, I started thinking more globally, like a bigger, wider perspective, because I was able to now see like this is not just at this little level of people. It's like happening in our whole sphere, like our whole globe is experiencing repression and trauma, and there's no avenues for how do we actually heal the global trauma that we are all impacted by. And so as I've been able to, free myself of various con- psychological constraints that I've had in my own body, it's allowed me to see it from a bigger picture, what's going on. And so my overarching mission is this Peace at Home project. And like Peace at Home is Earth, is the globe. And then it has so many layers to it. So I'm kind of just like ebbing and flowing between seeing the greater picture. How do we bring it back to tangible, actionable items to actually help people at home, but at home,
Mm-hmm.
so that that starts to ripple out in the peace and the unity that we're inevitably evolving towards. But yeah, that's kind of the unraveling of this whole complex idea that I'm birthing. Oh, yeah, I always start with describing the nervous system, because the nervous system is the basis for every single thing that happens in our experience. So just kind of giving people the basic tool, like if we're driving a spaceship or like a car, that is the manual of like how the car works or the spaceship works. Like, oh, I know that when my nervous system is activated and I feel unsafe, I can start to make an association between the symptoms I'm feeling and how it's making me react to my environment. So, like, it's simple awareness of, oh, when I feel triggered, I start to hyper focus on one aspect of a conversation or something that's happening, my body feels really tense. I notice I want to like fight this person or avoid and run away, or I shut down. And so really giving people the understanding of what is happening in their body and how they're not alone. Happens with all human and animal behavior. And so just giving them the language to be able to describe what their body feels like. And then the biggest part of the epiphanies that I have made is like, when you get to a certain point and you feel frozen by the experience, you feel like, I can't do anything, I'm so overwhelmed. And then you are able to kind of regulate enough for emotions to now come up. That's actually very normal. It's like when you're frozen or when you're in a state of overwhelm, that means when you eventually come back down and your nervous system starts to off gas or down regulate its system, there's an upregulation of emotions that want to move and come through your body. But we are often taught, do not be emotional. Do not have a tantrum. Do not do this stuff. So it's like keeping us in a state of freeze and overwhelm instead of allowing the natural process to occur that would actually complete the trauma cycle or the stress response. So we just like keep teeter-tottering. And that teeter-totter is extremely exhausting, which then creates that physical manifestation of lots of different illnesses, stroke, heart attack, mental, emotional disturbances. Like so many things can be gut issues, low immune function, low libido, decreased desire to connect in general, isolation. So all of those aspects lead to, like I said, my original question, why do people get so sick? Because they're emotionally stunted. So they're teeter-tottering between disconnection, addiction, isolation, and actually feeling through their experience. Yeah, well, I think first of all, it's just to identify and reintroduce that everyone has masculine and feminine energy within them. But I think I went to Egypt earlier this year and was studying like ancient philosophy and the evolution of just humans and how at one point men were like, women are really powerful and we should suppress them. So we went on this whole journey of isolating women and really dampening their power, which dampened globally the feminine energy, rest and ebbs and flows of creation, birthing, and rest and regeneration. And there's so much here because the feminine has just been like under the radar for so long. But I think like the next wave of our ascension and our higher level of consciousness is reintroducing the feminine. It's like begging to be experienced. And actually, and I said the feminine is like the birthing and the retraction that also brings in masculine energy. So it just shows you that masculine and feminine energy are naturally a part of everything that happens, and we need both in a balanced state to feel balanced. Like Mother Nature, it has masculine and feminine, and it's the most balanced ecosystem that we have when it's left alone. But when we try to manipulate Mother Nature, even back to pharmaceuticals, we'll take this plant that's naturally balanced in the wild and we'll try to make pills out of it to make it faster, more efficient. We can make more. Like that's a very masculine approach to medicine. And that I believe is kind of the direction that medicine for our Western society kind of went in. It's like, how do we make more? How do we make more in a faster way that's cost efficient? We can charge more and, results will be faster. Everything will be faster. We can go more. We could do more. And we're seeing that significant paradigm shift now start to change in the opposite direction where people are like, I'm freaking exhausted. I'm really sick. And I'm really sick and tired. I'm really burnt out. I don't want anything to do with humans. Like everyone seems to be super irritable at each other when you walk down the street. I don't know if you noticed this, but not really many people smile at you anymore or even acknowledge your presence. And so I know that because we're even having this conversation, we are already headed in that direction because awareness breeds change and chaos brings change. So, although the world feels very chaotic right now, I have a lot
Yeah.
of faith that we're moving in the direction of more rest and feminine.
Was
And
being something.
yeah, yeah. I was in a business development mentorship when I first started my business, and my immediate response, although it was helpful, my immediate response was like, these people are going to need to see me eventually, because the way that she was teaching, like every single day you have to be posting at least 5 times a day, and you have to be doing all of these things, and like everything is, you can't hire anyone until you have X amount of income and whatever. Like it was, I'm like, oh, wow, this is a lot. Yeah, it'll get you results, but like that's a candle being lit at both ends. It's going to burn out. And
Yeah.
I've seen that in a lot of my the people that were in the group. We have lots of conversations about like almost the trauma that that caused, because it manipulated the way that we saw business. And yeah, you can make a lot of money and you can accomplish a lot of things, but it's kind of like an empty, it's at the end of that chase, are you happy? Are you more connected to your family? Like, do you feel more connected to yourself? Are you enjoying life? Or are you just
Yeah.
buying more things and having more money in your bank account?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now it's more geared towards community. And the thing that came up just now is like, I don't want to come on here and be like, oh, the masculine or the masculine energy is bad, and now we're going to move towards feminine, and then we're going to have more balance, because the masculine is so important for the everything. It's
hmm
part of the balance. So
hmm
it's finding the midline of unity and peace in yourself and peace with others, and but really finding like that balance of both energies. And so one of just like a big concept that came up that I'm even like hesitant to even say, but
drop it, drop it.
one, like, we don't have many men that are doing things in the world where we're like, that is a strong male example of like a really healthy example of the masculine. And our a religious figure, God, is known as a father, which I'm like, where's the discussion about females? But we'll get to that maybe later.
Mm-hmm.
But we look up to this figure of like God and these masculine figures. Well, what do they represent? They're like unwavering love and patience and stability and safety. And like that's what so many people, seek in religion. They're like trying to find this parental figure to like love them unconditionally and provide safety and solace in hard times and protection. And that is getting the chills again, like where does that live? So
hmm
the masculine that we're experiencing are like the shadow aspects of men, accomplishing, doing the things, going fast, making money.
hmm
For what purpose? Like you're trading protection and groundedness and unconditional love and patience and support, and for those other things that are a part of the masculine but not the whole picture. Yeah. I mean, I think the basis of what I'm going to focus my energy on is nervous system education and emotional intelligence training, because nervous system regulation, our nervous system responds to our emotions. So
Yeah.
the more that we actually understand the chemical reaction, that's
Yeah.
all it is. It's a chemical reaction that occurs that causes behavior to happen.
Yeah.
And so the more that we actually, understand that you need to be able to identify the way that you feel and give it a label. And then that helps you to determine, is this thing for me or not for me? So now you have a list of like, oh, these are my triggers. These are things that help me feel safe. And then that builds on the ability to communicate what you want and need so that you can take action in a forward progression and feel like it's aligned, and it's not coming from a place of scarcity, or it's not coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of, I understand, and this thing that I'm doing is very intentional. I mean, weakness and vulnerability, and I think like judgment and shame, especially in social media, being so like, if I were to interview a man and he were to become vulnerable and then that were to be posted on the internet, how many potentially people could see it and ridicule them.
Yeah.
Like, we're just under this huge microscope. I think we're all kind of feeling what celebrities probably go through. Like, I can't
Yes.
do anything without judgment. And judgment
Yes.
is a terrible thing to feel like, oh, these people are judging me. Now I feel shame. And
Yeah.
that immediately on the Hawkins scale of emotions, like it drops you down to the lowest vibration that you could be in.
Oh,
And so why would you put yourself through that? That's probably why the elite, they don't even engage on social media. You don't even know who the elite are because they're like, I'm not gonna swirl around in the emotions of shame and all these like dense, you guys, what are you guys doing? We're gonna
yeah.
just ride above and whatever they're riding above. We don't even know who they are. But
Yeah.
there's like a reason why people who have a lot of money or people who are celebrities don't engage with the general population, because immediately when you show vulnerability, you're going to be shamed or
Mm.
judged. And it's just I had a really funny like image come through while I was on a walk the other day. I'm like, why do people get so mad for people being more of themselves, or like being bigger or not being afraid and like showing vulnerability, showing bravery? And when you bring a dog to a dog park that is neutered and not neutered, right? Like, if a dog is not neutered, the dogs that are neutered are like so aggressive towards it. They hate this dog because it's fully intact. It's fully being itself. And that's literally what's happening with us. Like, oh, you get to be big? No, I'm going to hate you because you're being too much of
Yes.
yourself and I don't know how to do that. You said something so epic that I love so much, this shepherding of people. And at a nervous system level, you are helping people to experience what co-regulation is through
Mm.
your own commitment to yourself. So, we have this drive to, back to masculine or just back to the imbalance. We have this drive to seek and to do the thing and to get the thing that's external, but really the more that you turn internal and you
Hmm.
just simply say like, okay, I understand this person is having their own journey, I'm going to use the information I'm getting from them to learn more about myself and go deeper there, because then the next time that you come into contact with them, the more you're like, oh, I understand your behavior and I know where it's coming from. I'm not going to be reactive. I'm going to be like, wow, I overcame that thing and I feel peace even in the presence of this person. You will inspire through their nervous system the ability to be like, this person's not reacting to me. They're not giving me any sort of stimulus to evoke a greater reaction from me. I just get to know what unconditional love, patience, and understanding is, which helps them to find their way back to themselves. You know
Yeah.
the movie, what is the movie? It's a Disney movie, Inside Out,
Oh my
maybe.
God, all the emotions.
Maybe, or where's
I
the
think
one
it's called
where
Inside Out.
there's one where like this like dream guy goes into and he's like really funky, and he's like so colorful, and he's like in this ship, and he's navigating, I think it's the dreamscape, and he finds all these humans that have this big cloud and they look like monsters and they're running around in the clouds, and he's like fighting them because he knows that, or he's not fighting them, I don't know what he's doing, this is a poor example but it's just what came up. Slowly the cloud starts to fall away and it becomes this like person.
Wow.
And so in every act of love and compassion that you can develop in yourself, getting the chills again, like, you
Yeah.
help to unravel this person that has so many barriers up that they just don't even know what love is. They don't even know it's accessible.
Makes
That's
me
really
sad.
big.
Makes me sad.
Yeah. And and then, it's easy to read and resonate about, oh, everyone just wants to be seen. Like, how the f do you how where do you start? Is it being louder? Is it doing more of a dance? And you said, we're all kind of like, we can learn a lot from kids, but we also are emotionally stunted. at a really low level too. So kind of bringing ourselves back to watching and observing and really caring for kids allows us to access things we need to do in order to find more peace and regulation in ourselves, and know that when we don't, we turn into kids. The conflict that occurs where you're like, you said, what did you just say? About, yeah, like doing a dance so that you're more seen, or even like global conflict where you're fighting over some sort of resource because it's like, that's my toy, no, that's my toy.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many conflicts that can be siphoned down to just like, well, you're kind of being a child in the way that you're handling this. And so where do you start? By being seen, and it's seeing yourself and really continuing on this path and this journey of like, oh, wow, thank you for irritating me, because you just invited me to look deeper in myself, to peel another layer back. And once you do peel that layer back and you become vulnerable and you heal, you create more space, you create a bigger container to understand the person that is causing you to feel that way. And then you can truly see them. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you get it? You get it? Like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. I want,
Well, part of that is like actually the emotion that it needs to come out it needs to come out. It's the aftercare of those experiences that end up changing the most for you. So maybe you have an explosive argument and you like feel the bigness of your anger, you feel the bigness of the sadness that comes up. Like that is actually meant to leave your body, and there is a lot of damage that can occur, a lot of rupture can happen, but it's obviously like illuminating issues that need to be broken. And so the after part of that experience is where, like I said, the most change can happen, because when you have enough space, when you give that sadness and that anger and the rage and the grief and the anguish enough space, it goes away. And then you say like, oh my gosh, I just realized that we're really disconnected and I feel sad about that. And going forward, maybe we can carve out more time for you and I to have deeper conversations, something like that. But it's really the letting go, the down regulation of the nervous system through emotional expression, and then having conversations that have more depth and honesty and wisdom through the experience you just had.
yeah, that's
Like you're not
beautiful.
going to want to. The more you understand why that experience happened, the more the next time that same sensation comes up in your body, the more you are like, oh, I remember you.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired.
Yeah.
Really needing a vacation or like some time off.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go for a walk. That's me.
Okay.
And look at that as in the emotional intelligence world, like you graduated to a more adult mindset the more that you're like, oh, I'm just a child. I'm emotionally stunted in this area. And how can I reparent myself to move up the scale? Teenagers are, angsty. There's probably some anger that will come up, or like, wow, but my parents didn't teach me that's wow. And then after that, you're like, oh, I get to show up as the parent that didn't get to give me that love because they didn't have access to it too. So
Yes.
you graduating to that level has such an impact on the rest of the world, because now you show up as a different person. So much, because I think that we're all just little kids who have all these trapped experiences that are stunted, that really, really need an adult to show up for us, which is probably why we seek authoritative figures, religion, politics, X, Y, and Z. We're like wanting so badly to be taken care of. And you'll always be disappointed by others because they don't know what you need. They don't even know what they need. So
Yeah.
who is that person for you? And the more you realize it's you, that's where you find peace, because everything that you actually need can be self-resourced, but we're not taught
No.
any sort of curriculum on how to self-resource. Like I'm sure there's some communities or schools that are doing it, but it's definitely not mainstream. And yeah, that's where my work has been dedicated. I love doing conversations like this because I can actually verbalize. It's really hard to make an infographic or a reel that gets people's attention in
Yeah.
the right direction, that gets to communicate all of the stuff that we talk about in live sessions. So that's where I think community is an area that I have previously been like, I don't have the energy to like sustain a community, but people are craving being connected in person now that we're past the pandemic. They're really, really craving it. And so I know that's where I'm being called. And I know that you saying like, oh yeah, I'm taking my course down. Same. I just collapsed my whole website because I was like, I don't want to get people behind the screen anymore. I want them to come and do an event where I can talk to them in person. I can give them a hug. I think I'm more powerful where I can just like see someone and hug them, and that would make more of an impact than trying to focus on making a passive income course where whatever. Like I don't care about that. I mean, it feels like I'm like one of my posts from a long time ago was just like being a lighthouse. I used to look at I need to help people heal with like a flashlight. I'm like, oh, you have a dark spot. Let me shine some light on it. And they're like, what are you doing? But the more I can become a solid source of, wow, there's a light over there that I'm curious about. Let me go to the light. Let me see what it's about. And then I don't want to keep people in like the traditional therapy model is like, oh, I'm going to see you for multiple years. I'm like, no, I'm going to get you to a point and I'm going to tell you, I cannot help you anymore because you're ready to graduate me. I want you to go do something else that you are excited about and you feel passionate about. And there's going to be another mentor that can provide you with a flavor that I can't because I've taken you as far as I can. Yeah, I mean, right now I'm just working with people one-on-one. I know there's going to be a lot of opportunities for like in-person retreats or just like potential. Yeah, I don't even want to say like group work because I would like to do some sort of in-person thing. And so, yeah, just working one-on-one for now and have some great ideas for some sorts of in-person things. But yeah, for now, just keeping it, boiled it back to what I actually love to do. And truthfully, the thing I love to do the most is these 90-minute deep dive calls with people. And it gives me an opportunity to see the core belief systems that people are operating from. And I can give them at least really solid, actionable steps to initiate this nectar call. So it has like an outlined, this is my personal map, not your map, like this is my map. Depending on the core wounds that I carry, these are books, these are podcasts that I can listen to, and at least I have the next step in my horizon.
Start your year off.
Yeah.
Nope.
Just, oh my God, you keep giving me the chills. How do I make my life rich? Just getting to know myself in the most intimate way. Getting to love all the dark corners and the shadowy spots. The more I do that, the more I feel like nothing else that I add to my life could make me happier. Thank you. I loved this conversation. Always loved my time with you. Thank you.